Hey everyone, let me start with something that might surprise you. A lot of people think podcasting is about gear, cameras, microphones, lighting, and branding, but the truth is this. If the interview doesn't work, none of that matters. You can have great equipment and a beautiful set, but if the conversation falls flat, the podcast falls flat. Today we're going to talk about the skill that determines whether a podcast actually works, the art of the interview. Welcome back everybody. I can't believe it's already been a month since our last webinar. Time really does fly when you're creating content. Today we're focusing on something that honestly feels like a bit of a superpower for me, interviewing. There are a lot of situations where interviews matter. Journalism, of course, documentaries, marketing, internal company videos. But today, we're going to focus on the most common use case these days, and that is the podcast interview. Most people still think about podcasting as being audio first, right? But that's not really the case anymore. Most podcasts today are video podcasts. They get clipped, they get shared, they show up on social media. And increasingly, they appear on major streaming platforms. Netflix and Hulu have both started experimenting with video podcasts. So this format that used to be kind of a niche thing, it's now starting to move into the mainstream media. And that changes the expectations. Most podcasts follow a simple format. A host sits down and talks with a guest and they just do a little chit chat, right? Simple enough, but hey, here's the reality. The interview is everything. If the conversation works, editing is easy. If the conversation doesn't work, editing is painful. Clips are hard to find, the episode drags, and the whole project starts to feel like more work than it should be. Let me give you the short version of that. If the interview doesn't work, the podcast doesn't work, okay? For context, my background is in journalism, and I've spent years interviewing people on camera, in studios, in the field, for news stories, documentaries, and all of it for digital media. I've interviewed celebrities, politicians, business leaders, and everyday people who are just really good at what they do. And one thing has always been true. The quality of the interview determines how much work comes later. Editing cannot fix a bad conversation. It can only hide it a little bit. A lot of podcasts struggle not because the host isn't smart. They struggle because the host is too focused on themselves. I remember listening to the very first episode of Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. His guest was Kristen Bell, his wife. And by his own admission later, that first episode was a disaster. He talked too much. The conversation felt awkward, and they even bickered a little bit at one point. Eventually, he found his rhythm, and the show became a massive success. But the reason it struggled early on is the same reason many podcasts struggle today: listening. Most new hosts are worried about three things. Am I asking the right question? Do I sound prepared? Am I going to look foolish? So they create a list of questions and then they cling to that little list for all hope. They're so focused on asking the next question that they stop listening to the answer. And the audience, they can feel it. Let me give you the key takeaway here. If you're thinking about your next question, you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're going to miss the most interesting part of the conversation. Here's the shift I want you to make. An interview is a conversation, but it's a conversation with responsibility. Your job is not to impress the guest. Your job is to represent the audience. Sometimes that means asking obvious questions. Sometimes it means slowing things down a little bit. And sometimes it means asking something that feels like silly. But if you're wondering it, the audience is probably wondering too. You're not just speaking for yourself. You're speaking on behalf of the audience. This is where interviewing connects directly to editing. When you listen well, you save yourself work later. If someone finishes a thought clearly, you don't have to cut around it. If you ask for clarification in the moment, you don't have to explain it later. If you gently redirect a rambling answer, you get cleaner clips. Here's the short version. Every good follow-up question is an editing shortcut. Super important thing to note there. Can you explain that more simply? Why does that matter to someone watching? What does that look like in real life? These aren't interruptions. They're little gifts to the audience. Video doesn't create interview problems, it reveals them. On camera, you can see when someone isn't listening. I have literally had that problem recently. I was recording an interview for somebody, and the host spent more time looking at the questions than looking at the person being interviewed. It felt really awkward on camera, and it was hard to edit the video because it felt very awkward to watch. You can feel when a moment is rushed. You noticed when a host is steering instead of responding. That's why the best video podcast feels effortless. Not because they are effortless, because trust me, this stuff is hard and it takes a lot of work. But it feels effortless because the host is present. Presence is what makes editing simple. Complete thoughts, natural pauses, clear statements that stand alone. Those moments are what become clips. Those are the things that get shared. These moments are what turn a podcast into real marketing content. This is exactly what we work on in our in-person interviewing workshop. We have another one happening on April 28th here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So if you live in the city, come join us. Because interviewing isn't something you just learn by watching. Sure, you can pick up a few things, but it's something you learn by doing. In the workshop, we're going to help you practice interviewing on camera and listening without rushing. Then we're also going to show you how to adjust your questions in real time. And we're also going to show you how to set up your cameras so that you capture these moments and turn them into those great clips. If you want podcasting to stay a low-lift content strategy, the interview has to carry the weight. Better conversations lead to fewer edits. Fewer edits lead to consistency. And consistency is what makes podcasting work as both a marketing tool and a networking tool. Thank you all for being here today. We have a Google Meet session going on right now. If you're part of that, we're going to jump over in a second and ask your real-time questions. This is where you get a chance to interview me and ask me what you want to know. What's going to help you become a better interviewer? This is part of our Webinar Wednesday format. We stream here on YouTube and on our website, but we also have the Google Meet going on so that afterwards we can ask you or answer your real-time questions. We can have a one-on-one conversation about anything you want to know. And we're doing this for free. Can you believe it? All I need from you is to come and join us. We do Webinar Wednesday on the first Wednesday of every month, so different topic every month. Next month, we'll be talking about AI. I'm not sure if you have any questions about that, but I have a feeling like you might. We're going to dig into that topic again next month, but for now, if you want to learn more about interviewing, definitely log on to our website and check out our quick tips area, and make sure to sign up for our newsletter. That's where you're going to get information about all our upcoming workshops and various things that will help you learn how to grow your video or digital content strategy. And some of it you can do super easily. You just need maybe a little help. We're here to help. All right, thanks again, and join me over in the Google Meet if you have some questions to ask. See you all next month.